Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Monday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields live at the American Metal Roof Studio here just a couple blocks from the Capitol. Tomorrow we'll be broadcasting live from the brand new Accident Fund building. That's that old Ottawa Street power station. A factory essentially turned into a gleaming new headquarters. Accident Fund is a national company, decided to stay right here in Michigan, a subsidiary of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And you're going to get a sneak preview on television, on Fox 47, and on the radio tomorrow all across the state of Michigan of what it's like inside that building. That's tomorrow. Tonight, I will be speaking and doing a book signing from 5:30 to 7:30. Brought to you by Inforum. That is at Art Van Furniture on Saginaw Highway in Lansing. It's easily reachable from Grand Rapids if you're interested. It's a huge Art Van Furniture store right off the highway in West Lansing there. So you would just come in 96 and 496, and there you'd be. It is from 5:30 to 7:30. There will be cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. There's a $10 donation to get in for the Inforum Center for Leadership. And so that's tonight. I'll be signing my book, Invite Yourself to the Party, and we'll talk about business and success and celebrity run-ins and how you can make your life more memorable and exciting by inviting yourself to the party. That's tonight from 5:30 to 7:30. Men and women are welcome. It's sort of an after-work party at Art Van on Saginaw Highway in West Lansing. Gary Austin is the anchor man. He's about to join us here. Good morning, Gary.
Yes, well, good morning, Michael Patrick.
I got to tell you, something happened. I got invited to a little party on Friday night, and it was at Governor Granholm and Dan Mulhern's condo. They're living for a short while here in the Okemos area, having served 2 terms as governor. And Dan Mulhern wrapped up his radio show Saturday morning, last one, Everyday Leadership, by the way, on the Michigan Talk Network. But Friday night, we went over there for Father Mark Inglet and Father Joe Krupp, and Harrison and Christina and myself went to the Granholm's condo for dinner. And she had this bottle of wine. And I said, oh, that's cask wine. It's called cask. Okay. She says, you know it? And I said, yeah, it's good stuff. She said, well, it was given to me by Captain Sully Sullenberger.
Is that right?
I said, you're kidding.
That's pretty
cool.
Said,
no, I guess Captain Sullenberger is working on a book. And he wanted to interview well-known people, and so he interviewed Governor Granholm, and as a gift, he sent her this big, huge bottle of cask wine. And I said, you know what, the only thing better than drinking cask is knowing that it came from Captain Sully Sullenberger, the guy who became famous for landing that plane in the Hudson River, the U.S. air flight. So it tasted pretty good, I got to tell you.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. And, you know, I said to her at some stage, I said, you're now a job sucker because you keep getting jobs every time we turn around the corner. And she's on the board at Dow now and with Pew Research, and she's got a gig with NBC's Meet the Press, and of course they'll both be teaching at University of California, Berkeley, and the move is going to take place in July apparently when they
she's going to be doing it all too. And I asked husband Dan, he was in the studio on Friday, and I said, Dan, how's your wife going to do all this? And he says, multitasking, Yuri, multitasking.
Yeah, well,
I'll say.
That's the buzzword of the year, isn't it?
Sure is.
That's what you got to do these days in order to make it. All right, you're going to bring us the news?
I am. And this update is a service of our friends at American Metal Roofs. You'll never, ever have to worry about the weather with a beautiful, guaranteed American Metal Roof. Learn more at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. AmericanMetalRoofs.com. Hey, MPS, what do you make of this? Governor Snyder, he's pushing for legislation that would merge Michigan cities and counties into metro authorities. Now,
Really?
That's something new and unique. Listen to this. The move is being considered for smaller areas, as a metropolitan government is considered much less likely for larger urban areas like Detroit, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties for obvious reasons. So what the governor would like to do here is take these smaller entities, kind of merge them. Obviously, you put bunch of jurisdictions under one roof, save money. That's the whole idea behind all of this. Supporters of this metro government concept say it will eliminate a level of bureaucracy, increase a municipality's stature, and allow efficiencies through economies of scale.
So you might have one mayor for 3 cities or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's we've heard discussions about that sort of thing in the past. However, nothing's really come of it, but we've never been in the kind of situation we're in right now. So I think this sort of thing is going to get a much more serious look. And that's one of the things, Governor Snyder, he says, reinvent Michigan. And that is one big reinvention there, I would say.
I would say so, too. Did you see what's going on in London, by the way? We're going to talk with our world correspondent, Nikki Hale, coming up shortly. But
Yeah.
more than 250,000 people have marched through central London
Very upset, yeah.
rioting because of the government's cuts in public spending. It's
Yep.
happening everywhere, even in jolly old, isn't it?
Well, it's true, and as we know, in England especially, I mean, they are much more, how should we say, well, when it comes to government programs, they have more than we do
I see.
when it comes to that sort of thing. This is really an offshoot. At the end of the Second World War, the government made a very big effort to try to, for example, all the veterans that served in the Second World War with health care, a big modification in UK policy there.
Oh.
And a lot of folks were signed on to this thing. And critics of it say at the time it was okay, but it should have come to an end by now. As a result, the government is pouring tons of money into this thing. More money than the government has. As a result now, all sorts of cuts across the board. People who've been used to getting widespread benefits in the UK, suddenly they're being threatened with having a lot of these benefits pulled. They're not happy. And thus we have what happened over the weekend with near riots all over London.
Yeah, 250,000 people were fairly calm until all of a sudden they turned violent and destructive. They started attacking symbols of wealth like the Ritz Hotel, banks, a luxury car dealer, an upmarket food store, and anarchists is what they're saying, went on the rampage. And there were, in fact, 211 people arrested for offenses using threatening or insulting words or behavior, criminal damage, trespassing, and all. They have video cameras all over London, in case you didn't know that, so they've got lots of evidence. And they were ordered to leave Trafalgar Square because they were going to sit in and stay overnight and all that, and protesters were throwing coins and water bottles, and Scotland Yard said that light bulbs filled with ammonia had also been thrown at police officers. So, you know, who moved my cheese is what they're saying in London.
Yeah.
And they're saying it in a very vociferous fashion.
Yeah, but very, very serious there. And this could be just the beginning of a lot more of this sort of thing there. I mean, these are just proposals Parliament is making in the UK. Imagine if this stuff gets enacted. I mean, folks are mad now. We haven't seen anything yet.
Boeing 717 was leaving Atlanta for Detroit, struck by lightning. The pilot decided to return to Atlanta. 94 passengers got off and switched planes. I guess it's not unusual for a plane to be struck by lightning. They're built to withstand it.
Yeah.
But the pilot decided to err on the side of caution because there was a brief minor issue with one of the two engines. But all's well that ends well in that case. Are you going to watch President Obama tonight on television?
Yeah, I will. He's going to outline how he's going to handle the situation in Libya from here on out. Well, he's facing a lot of criticism for this. You know, some are saying, you know, he's got no business taking our military to the level it is in Libya now. Others say the president has no choice. We've got a crisis, and the president has to act fast. Some say he should have consulted Congress. Others say it would have taken too much time. So we have both sides going at it, and the president tonight, the White House is saying that he's going to clarify what our position is in Libya and where we head from here on that.
Well, he's got to get his story straight, for one, doesn't he? Because President Obama said Saturday intervening in Libya was in the interest of the United States. But then the Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates, and the Secretary of State both went on TV and said that Libya was not a vital interest. So which is it? You know,
Well,
that's one administration. The president saying Libya was in the interest of the U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates says it was not a vital national interest. And then Secretary of State saying it was a vital interest. So Senator John McCain, who ran against Obama for president, says, hey, let's get this straight here. This is very confusing. And that's what I guess the president's going to try to do tonight.
Yeah, this sort of thing happens a lot nowadays. We've seen
Does it?
Well, yeah, situations that are so fluid. First of all, you have that. A situation that is constantly changing. We have other world powers involved. And most of all, we have talk shows like this one. Radio,
How dare
TV,
you.
and what have you. And no, but these White House officials, you know, they show up on these talk shows. They're bombarded with a whole slew of questions. And you're right. I mean,
That's what they do, though.
yeah, that's their thing. But what you're saying is, and I think the critics are saying, they all ought to get on the same page before they start making statements, and the White House finds
all
itself
it
sort
is
of backed in a corner.
International foreign policy. You would think the president and the defense secretary would be on the same page.
Yeah, I know it.
How'd you like to be this woman from Lowell who ended up with a deer in the front seat of her SUV?
Yeah, not one but two, I understand. This was a wild deal.
Two of them ran in front of her, and one of them went right through the window and was alive in the front seat.
Yeah. It's a long shot, but these sort of things can happen. Deer are on the move. It used to be just certain times of the year. Well, it's still true. Certain times of the year, more are roaming about with mating season and that sort of thing. But we're told by the experts that nowadays, virtually any day of the year, there's a good chance this sort of thing could happen, and she's very lucky.
Hey, Jerry Zanstra, who is in charge of American Epic Entertainment, he's one of the biggest promoters of film in Michigan.
Yes.
He is calling Michael Moore a hypocrite. Michael Moore from Traverse City, the guy who makes all those documentaries. Some of them are, a little bit country. We'll find out as soon as we get back when Jerry Zanstra joins us. Why is Michael Moore a hypocrite? Those are fighting words, aren't they, in the Traverse City area? Stay tuned and see. It's 18 after the hour. He's Gary Austin, Michael Patrick Shields, brought to you by American Metal Roofs. You can find them at AmericanMetalRoofs.com. So Bob Seger has added another show to the Palace of Auburn Hills. That's a third show he's going to do there. He's 65 years old, but rock and roll never forgets, and so he's selling them out. The Palace on May 19th and 17th, and now the 21st. It's an 8-week tour, and there's some talk he's thinking about retiring, and he's going to be, I guess, in Toledo on Saturday. The last time he toured was 2007 and said he was going to take a decade off. But Bob Seger back in action this spring in the state of Michigan.
She took his hand and she led him along that golden beach. They watched the waves tumble over the sand.
Mind yourself now, because winter is officially over. Construction season gets underway around the state. Let's take Grand Rapids, for instance. MDOT is going to close the ramp between I-96 westbound to 28th Street, and to the westbound exit there, they're going to start rehabilitation work on the I-96 bridges. So that ramp is going to stay closed through April 30th. Construction will wrap up, they say, by the end of June. Bob Seger is performing in Grand Rapids. When's he doing that? April 2nd. So he's going up against Charlie Sheen, I think. Isn't Charlie Sheen April 1 and 2 at the Fox in Detroit, and Bob Seger in Grand Rapids? I think I know which one has a better chance of selling out. Charlie Sheen shows, according to what we understand, are not selling out. The winning tour is what he calls it.
Winning.
That's it. The Violet Torpedo of Truth. 21 venues he's going to do. It's a 70-minute set. He's going to have a rant on the stage, if you haven't seen enough of those. And he's going to have some chicks with him, too. He calls Sheen's Goddesses. And it's going to be a multimedia tour, too. So it kicks off April 2nd and 3rd in Detroit and Chicago. So I think it is. Charlie Sheen versus Bob Seger. East versus West. Lady Gaga is 25 today. I say that because we never let the birthday of a beautiful woman pass without taking note. She happens to have right now the #1 song in America, too. Born This Way by Lady Gaga, 6 weeks on the Billboard Top 100 chart. I don't know what way she was born, because she looks different every time you see her. "25 minutes after the hour, 10 mid-Michigan firefighters suffered minor injuries Saturday battling a fire at a bar in downtown Leslie, and Leslie's fire chief said 5 of them are lucky to have survived. They were on the 2nd floor when a patio roof above the 1st floor collapsed, and that caused the floor to give way. 9 of the firefighters were treated and released from the hospital. The 10th one was treated overnight for smoke inhalation. We're going to talk coming up shortly with Russ White from Michigan State University. The Free Press finds that administrative jobs at public universities increased by 19% over the last 5 years, some schools paying 30% more for administrative positions, 22% more on faculty, so state lawmakers are kind of upset about that increase. But the schools say they have to have that kind of spending in order to recruit and retain top professors and administrators. So school says we need the money. Legislators say that seems a little bit out of line with, the public sector, the private sector. We'll see. Ford may outsell General Motors this month. That's what we're hearing from Edmunds.com. GM outsold Ford by 51,000 vehicles in February, but they had incentives to do it. So Ford, with its F-Series pickups, its Fusion, and its Escape, may outsell General Motors. And we'll talk with George Volman, the automotive insider. who owned Volman Ford for a while. He'll be with us coming up shortly, too. 1,200, did you get that, Amanda? George Volman, please. 1,200 people showed up at a job fair in Caledonia. They were looking for to fill 400 positions at the location south of Grand Rapids, but 1,200 people showed up, so they had to shut the doors around 2 o'clock, and that's a new location for Farmers Insurance. Oracle helped push tech stocks higher Friday. The S&P was up 4 points, the NASDAQ up 7, and the Dow up 50. But University of Michigan says consumer sentiment at its lowest level in more than a year. Rising food prices, gas prices pushed the index down. And so are you hanging on to your money? Is consumer confidence low in your household? Get your sports update in just a minute, then we'll find out why Jerry Zanstra says that Michael Moore is a hypocrite. Dave in Dimondale, you're in the air at 888-900-9966. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Michael Patrick.
What's shaking?
Well, I heard you people discussing the president and our thing that's going on in Libya.
Yep.
And I think that people need to remember that he ran for the office of the presidency of the United States of America, and one of his primary functions there is to be commander-in-chief of our armed forces. It appears to me that he is abdicating that to NATO. And I've looked up in the Constitution, and I find nothing there that says that the President of the United States, who is commander-in-chief of our armed forces, can abdicate that authority to a foreign entity.
Well, Newt Gingrich, for instance, on the weekend said he's hoping tonight that the president will tell us that he's consulting Congress and not just the Arab League and the United Nations about the situation in Libya. That sort of speaks to what you're saying.
Exactly, and I think it needs to be brought up every minute of every day. This guy is putting himself into campaign mode, and he feels that the way to do that is to make it look like he hasn't put us at war in Libya. And the reality of it is, he is commander-in-chief, and he needs anything that happens there needs to be put on his shoulders. We're still paying the bill. I don't care who he says is command and control of our armed forces. We are still paying the bill.
You know what I find interesting? They always say, well, this president, others have said it too, but this one says the coalition this, the coalition that. And then when something good happens, he says, we're making progress in Libya. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, we're making progress in Libya. What happened to the coalition?
Well, the coalition has control of our troops, apparently. So
gosh, I hope that's not
where the coalition comes in.
That's not true. Dave in Dimondale at 29 minutes after the hour. Michael Patrick Shields heard all across the state of Michigan. The Final Four is set. The NCAA. If you have this in your bracket, you're either a genius or somebody said you picked it by mascot. Butler, UConn, VCU, and Kentucky all won this weekend to advance to the semifinals, the Final Four. Saturday, Butler is going to square off against 11th-seeded Virginia Commonwealth. 3rd-seeded Connecticut is going to face 4th-seeded Kentucky. Second time for the Final Four for Butler. And VCU is the 3rd team ever with an 11th seed to crack the Final Four. That's coming up next weekend on CBS with our friend Jim Nantz, who will go from the Final Four over to Augusta National for the Masters tournament right after that. Red Wings got some good news. Jimmy Howard could be back on the ice as soon as Wednesday. Somebody fell on him in the 3rd period of the win against the Maple Leafs, but everything seems to be okay. Tigers yesterday beat Houston 8-4 in Lakeland, and it's Thursday they open up in New York against the Yankees. Miguel Cabrera had his 4th homer yesterday of the preseason. Michigan Wolverine hockey team is going to the Frozen Four. They beat Colorado College 2-1 Saturday and won the West region. This is the Wolverines' 24th Frozen Four appearance, but the first since 2008. They're going to face either Denver or North Dakota in the national semifinals. That'll be April 7th in St. Paul, Minnesota. The Pistons defeated the Indiana Pacers 100-88 yesterday. They almost let another big lead slip away. They had an 18-point lead, but they held on, and the Pistons are off till Wednesday when they travel to Indiana. Scotland's Martin Laird, 3 over 75. Boy, if you shoot 3 over 75 in the final round of a PGA Tour event, you're not supposed to win, but he did. Things were pretty tough there at Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Club and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. And Steve Marino, who was looking for his first ever tour win, double bogeyed the 17th hole. just about handed it to Martin Laird, even though he came back strong with a birdie on 18, which is not easy to do at that course. So Martin Laird made a huge two-putt on the last green, and he wins. That's his second tour victory, as I understand it. And Kevin Harvick passed Jimmy Johnson on the final lap. He wins the Auto Club 400 at the Auto Club Speedway. Boys high school basketball. West Michigan did the state proud this year. Kalamazoo Central won its second straight Class A title by beating Detroit Southeastern. In Class C, it was Schoolcraft beating McBain. Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian won the Class D title, and Lansing Sexton wins Class B. Schoolcraft, by the way, finished with a perfect 27-0 record. So we've got listeners in Lansing saying, yeah, Sexton, and we've got listeners in Grand Rapids saying, yeah, all those three schools in West Michigan. Jerry Zanstra is with us right now, the executive in charge of production for American Epic Entertainment, Grand Rapids resident. And he's saying that Michael Moore is a hypocrite. And he's on the other end of our line right now. Again, welcome back to the program.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Now, Michael Moore lives in Michigan, Traverse City area. We all know him from Roger and Me and all those other controversial documentaries, some of them funny. Why is he a hypocrite?
Well, he's been traveling around Wisconsin and somewhat around Michigan and out to New York to be on the Rachel Maddow show.
Mm-hmm.
Basically selling his usual socialism, talking about how wealth doesn't belong to the individuals who earned it, and it needs to be taken away from them, and rich people need to be hauled off in handcuffs, and he's standing in solidarity with the working class people. But at the same time, while he's doing that, he's completing a $5 million renovation on his cottage up in Traverse City. His net worth is in excess of $50 million, and he works in an industry in which 90% of his fellow union members make less than $5,000 a year. One of his projects grossed $220 million, and he hired non-union workers just to save money. So the fact that while at one hand he's claiming to be in solidarity with the common working people, and on the other hand he's phenomenally wealthy and has kept the majority of his wealth, that makes him hypocritical.
He goes around in that vinyl jacket and baseball cap. He doesn't look like a guy with all that money, does he?
No, he doesn't look like a guy that's worth north of $50 million. I think he talks about how he flies coach and all this kind of stuff. We'll see about that. What I think he's doing, Michael, is I think he's in Wisconsin with film crews. He's in Michigan with film crews, filming him at these protests. He's doing what he's always done. He's taking hardship, and he's making a lot of money on it. I think he's beginning to film for his next documentary already. As we think through this, Roger and Me was the story of thousands of people who lost their jobs, 30,000 people, GM employees. And, he championed and put himself out there as the champion of the little guy, and then ended up earning $7 million on that. He did it next with Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah. And so he seems to like to engage in class warfare, Michael Moore. According to Jerry Zanstra, you can find him at the Genesis Code. That's his movie. And we'll keep our eye on Michael Moore, and we'll keep in touch with Jerry Zanstra, too. His blog is available as well at 35 after the hour. Thanks, Jerry. We'll talk again soon. It's Michael Patrick Shields. That music indicates that it's time for The Answer Man, so therefore, if you're watching on Fox 47 or happen to be in our storefront studio here, American Metal Roofs Studio, which is right on the Avenue of Michigan in downtown Lansing, right by the Capitol building, you can see me put on the Answer Man hat and know that Gary Austin will now be petitioning me with questions. The Answer Man has never been wrong, and that's because my wisdom doesn't always come from the east, as this music might indicate. Sometimes it comes from part south, and so people have said, that MPS, he's got an answer for everything, and therefore, I became the Answer Man, or the son of Answer Man, and we say good morning to you, Mr. Austin.
Yes, here we are.
This is a exhibition, not a competition. Please,
right.
No wagering.
Yes.
All
and
right.
we should note here, too, we got to warn you that you may think that you can match wit and or wisdom with the one and only Answer Man. However, it's not possible, so don't be discouraged if you try and are unable to. That's a disclaimer that the boss wants us to.
What is your question?
Here we go, number one, numero uno, and here we go. President Obama is going to be doing what tonight?
He's going to be talking.
He will be talking.
He's going to be talking his tail off because there
Yeah.
seems to be some disconnect in his administration. The president says that we went into Libya because it was in the national interest, but the defense secretary said it was not a vital national interest. So who was right?
As
Maybe we'll
usual,
find
the
out
answer
tonight.
man giving us more information than we really needed, kind of filling in
Oh
the
no,
blanks
you
there
need to
for
know
us.
that, don't you? Need to know that.
I'd say I'm saluting you, Answer Man, for being very thorough. That's very good. The president's going to do it. He's going to do it tonight, and it's going to be nationally telecast as well. That's how important this one is.
We'll have audio clips tomorrow morning and political analysis too. And Gary, George Volman, the AutomotiveInsider.com. He's on the other end of our line right now. George Volman, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
Hey,
Good.
guys, I've got a question for George. Let's make George the answer man this time.
Okay.
George, when it comes to overall sales, who could edge out who when it comes to March sales numbers to be released soon?
Yeah, it looks like it might be Ford Motor Company.
You're right. Absolutely right. That's
Ford
the
might
case.
outsell General Motors for the month of March. Is that a significant deal?
Well, I mean, what's happening is that when GM went through the bankruptcy, their capacity got cut substantially, and they right-sized the company. Well, Ford Motor Company, on the other hand, did it through the marketplace. And consequently, those two companies are very close to being equal right now. And so it's not an issue of GM can outproduce Ford, so therefore they can outsell them. They're pretty much on a level playing field. So now it's best car win, less incentives. And what happened was GM cut back on their incentives substantially, which was huge for January and February for them. And I think that's what's going to catch Ford up. And also, I think GM has dialed back their fleet sales a little bit, where Ford has kept it pretty steady what they're trying to do with it.
It's the F-Series pickups, the Fusion, and the Escape that are really powering the Ford Motor Company right now, aren't they?
Right, and those last two usually go into fleet sales. And also, as the economy starts to come back, obviously truck sales are going to start going straight up.
Okay, you see that. There it is, George Volman. You can find him at theautomotiveinsider.com. He owned a Ford dealer for a long time, dealership, but also he worked at Cadillac, and so he's touched all the bases, Gary Austin, if you want to put it that way.
He sure has. He's really seen it all. You know, those F-Series pickups, the Fusion and the Escape, the trio, those three are doing so well, propelling Ford to some pretty impressive numbers. And Edmunds.com is saying it's going to be very impressive when the stats are going to be released here before long.
Lansing Mayor
right.
Verge Bernero will
Yes.
join us later in the program, by the way. I want to ask him what he thinks of the new poll that says he would be in a dead heat with Rick Snyder if the election were restaged today.
Yeah, that'll be curious. You know, the mayor, he's got city business big time to deal with. Lansing, a budget deficit in the neighborhood of $20 million, and tonight he's going to detail all of this, how he plans to try to right this ship here. He's going to do it tonight, 7 o'clock, Lansing City Hall. City Council is going to get the first really thorough peek at his new budget plan coming up, and it's not looking pretty.
What is your question?
Yes. Next question for the answer man here. All right. Moms and dads ought to be talking to their kids about the use of, well, let's see. How should I say this? Okay. Detail some of the things that mom and dad should be talking to their kids about. It involves, I give you a hint, it involves social media. What am I talking about?
They have to be careful when they're on the internet, or even when they're on video games now, because you can connect with other people through Xbox, and you could play against someone in California and find out maybe they're not who they claim to be. So you have to be really careful. It's moving fast, isn't it?
It is. It's the whole umbrella. It's Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, pretty much any social media site today. Report out from the American Academy of Pediatrics called Social Media today, called Social Media a health issue, of all things. Imagine that. Hey, we know who our high school statewide basketball champs are. What can you tell us about that, Answer Man?
That is a very funny question that you ask. I can tell you that West Michigan did awfully well.
Yes.
Kalamazoo Central wins its second straight Class A title. Schoolcraft beats McBain. Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian wins the Class D title. And Lansing Sexton wins Class B, which Tim Stout predicted for what it's worth.
Now, how did you know, the reason why you knew that is because you're the Answer Man.
Right.
That is very thorough. Nice job.
How do you think I got the name?
Another perfect score for you.
Right.
Good
Never
job.
been wrong. When we come back, we're going to find out why Catholics are riled up about the Tigers. And also, we're going to talk with Russ White from Michigan State University about why administrators in public universities are getting 30% increases and the rest of us are getting cuts. That's coming in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Thank you, Gary Austin. The Answer Man window is now closed here in our American Metal Roof studio. Speaking of vehicles, when it comes to Ford or General Motors or Chrysler, you can get any of those vehicles at Hyundai of Lansing, Cheryl Freeborough's outfit there in Grand Ledge on Saginaw Highway. The 2010 Hyundai Santa Fe is what I'm test driving right now. It's in front of our American Metal Roof studio right here on the sidewalk. It's valued at $22,355. She's selling it for only $18,995. It's in excellent condition, and I've been driving it for a few days. It is like brand new, and it's a midsize SUV for only $18,995. So if you go to Hyundai of Lansing, they'll come and take it away from you the second you want it. Wherever you may be in the state of Michigan, it's there. They'll deliver it to you, and you can shop online at HyundaiofLansing.com. I really like it. It's the size that you don't have to climb up into, you don't have to climb down into, you can just sort of slip into. And I like that kind of thing. It's full of books in the back, by the way, copies of Invite Yourself to the Party, because tonight I will be giving a talk and book signing. It's actually a cocktail party, so don't worry, we're going to have some fun. 5:30 to 7:30 at Art Van Furniture on Saginaw Highway, very near Hyundai of Lansing, in fact. From 5:30 to 7:30, it's being put on by Inforum. Inforum is a very powerful business group for women, but the party is for men and women. 5:30 to 7:30, there'll be cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and I'll be signing copies of my book, Invite Yourself to the Party. And I think it's a $10 donation to get in, but a lot of people you know are going to be there, and I hope you'll be there too as we celebrate spring, have a little fun, have a few laughs, and copies of the book will be available there. Speaking of spring, Detroit Tigers are upsetting some Roman Catholics. They're very unhappy that the club's home opener is scheduled during holy hours on Good Friday, April 10th. You know by now that, of course, that the traditional time that's accepted that Jesus hung on the cross is noon to 3, and the Tiger game starts at 1:05. And all 30 American and National League teams play on April 10th, but the Tigers game is the only one during holy hours. How can that be? Were they playing night games? It's an insult for Catholics, say some people, who are going to miss their first home opener in order to attend church services. The Tigers spokesperson, Ron Colangelo, says, look, Major League Baseball has a monumental task putting together the season schedule, and the climate in Detroit makes it unrealistic to have a night game at this time of year. You know, sometimes it can be very cold for the Tigers' home opener. So the Tigers' home opener is always a day game. And nobody's saying baseball. What do you do, too, about hot dogs? You can't go to the Tiger game and not have a hot dog, but on Good Friday, you're not supposed to eat meat. We'll talk with Father Joe Krupp or Father Mark England about this coming up a little bit later. The Tigers on Good Friday. I hadn't even thought about that. It's 53 minutes after the hour. Michael Patrick Shields. Lady Gaga's birthday. Let's hear a little bit of her song, Born This Way. 6 weeks on Billboard's Top 100 chart. #1 right now. This is what your kids are listening to on their iPod.
So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. There's an umbrella to say, I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause I make no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Don't hurt yourself and regret, just love yourself and instead. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way.
That's Lady Gaga with the #1 song. Mike Hughes from MikeHughes.tv is going to join us a little bit later. Oprah Winfrey has announced that May 25th is going to be the end of her hit daytime talk show. 25 years on television. Oprah's going to hang it up on May 25th. She said that on Twitter. She's hard at work planning the final shows, looking forward to sharing them. And you know what will happen is Oprah is going to turn her full attention to her own cable channel. It was launched on January 1st. OWN, do you have that? The Oprah Winfrey Network. And that's where she'll spend all of her time. So the Oprah Winfrey Show will be toast, will be history. But the question is, who takes her place? Does the show continue with a new host or hostess, if you want to call it that? I don't know. Will you miss Oprah? Or are you happy to see her go? I don't know. Why would you be happy to see her go? She's relatively harmless, isn't she? We'll talk to Mike Hughes about that at In about an hour and a half. 888-900-9966 is the number to call. Rachel Ward, by the way, speaking of television, was the woman, if you remember the Thornbirds with Richard Chamberlain all those years ago. That was a very sensational show because it depicted a priest being lured away from the priesthood by a woman, and that woman was Rachel Ward. Rachel Ward will join us on this program coming up right after the news. And don't forget, tonight is the President Obama's speech. Tomorrow we'll have political analysis from all around the world, reaction to what he says about the United States in Libya. You can find us at MichiganTalkNetwork.com anytime you want. Come down and see us one of these mornings at our American Metal Roof studio, right down the street from the Capitol on Michigan Avenue. There's a coffee house next door, a lobby with memorabilia, or you can watch through the window if you want. It's right here on the street, just like the Today Show. It's the American Metal Roof studio. And if you're listening on the radio, want to see what we look like, you're in the Lansing area, turn on Fox 47 television. You can get us statewide on YouTube at MichiganTalkNetwork.com. It's Michael Patrick Shields, and it's Monday, a Pure Michigan Monday. In fact, wherever you're listening in our beautiful mitten, the Pure Michigan commercials, I saw them all weekend. In fact, I saw them on the NBC broadcast of the Bay Hill tournament, Arnold Palmer Invitational there. So that's pretty good. All those people watching golf say, I got to come to Michigan and play some golf. It's a Pure Michigan Monday. We invite you to do that. 3 minutes before the hour, Martin Laird from Scotland won that tournament, by the way. Masters tournament in 2 weeks. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Well, it's not so jolly and jolly old. More than 250,000 people have marched through central London. What's their message? Well, they don't like the government's cuts in public spending. And it was a good-natured mood soured by violent and destructive attacks, as I understand. They've attacked the Ritz Hotel, symbol of wealth, banks, a luxury car dealership, upmarket food store, and the like. Nikki Hale, world correspondent, on the other end of our line this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They had upwards of actually 500,000 people attending the march, which was organized by TUC, which is the Trade Union Congress in the UK, and they're protesting basically the cuts that the government is looking at, £81 billion, and a lot of this affecting obviously the public sector, the schools, a lot of areas. So they were coming out peacefully, and the police had actually been following on the internet a lot of talk and chatter about groups breaking off to become violent. And the criticism happening at the moment is if they knew about this ahead of time, why were they not able to stop it? Well, the police are coming back and saying that the chit-chat on the internet actually was saying all of London, and they couldn't protect all of London, so they didn't know exactly where they were going to hit. But 201 people were arrested, 149 people have been charged, and you're right. They basically went into the upscale area of London, so Oxford Street, Piccadilly, Trafalgar Square, and they have done a lot of damage. And now the next target they're thinking is going to be the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton.
Oh, dear. There was what they're calling it a rampage, actually. But they threw paint at the Royal Bank of Scotland. They attacked the Ritz Hotel. There was criminal damage and trespass. And they say some people were throwing light bulbs filled with ammonia at police. Why are people so riled up?
Well, because I think the issue around the government spending is their concerns is going to undermine the economic recovery and see unemployment rising. And the folks that are coming out, in a more violent way are people that are seeing this hit come directly. And you're absolutely right. There was a lot of fire. There was a lot of destruction. Many streets, high-end street shops were thoroughly destroyed, and the shop owners are saying, this is ridiculous, because how are we going to recover from this now, and how is this going to look if we can't even keep this high-end area of London safe? So people are just very, very upset with the decisions that the government are making, and it's similar to what we're seeing here in Michigan in a way. The government over there was elected with this promise in mind, that they were going to actually be very severe on cutting the spending because there was just no other way out of it. They're in a huge deficit. And people just don't like the reality of it. They voted it in as an idea, and now they're seeing it come true, and they just don't like it.
Yeah, in fact, we're going to talk with Virg Bernero, who is a Democratic candidate for governor, in less than an hour. And the irony is that if the election were held today, it would be a dead heat. Some polls have Bernero even winning, even though Rick Snyder, the governor, promised during his campaign to fix Michigan by tightening things up. And now that he's doing it, people don't like it.
Yep, absolutely. And it is the most difficult path to take. It is the most difficult decision. It does affect a large area, large majority of the population who are depending on public funding for this, that, and something else. But at the end of the day, if the government doesn't have the money, it's a necessary decision to make, I think. And this is going to happen more often than not until they get through and see how it's actually going to look.
You know, I've seen these riots. The French, in fact, last summer, if I'm not mistaken, were rioting because the French government was going to push back the date of retirement when you could collect Social Security. But I didn't know the British were given to this kind of protesting.
No, and you're absolutely right. Usually the British will, turn their heads and talk amongst themselves and, quietly protest. But I think if you look across the world, there's a lot of different things going on, and they're seeing that people are taking matters into their own hands in other countries and seeing results, and I think they might be mirroring that behavior to some degree, which is sad. I mean, the protests, it should be peaceful, and they should be trying to get their point across. I don't think we should be resorting to the violence that happened this weekend.
Well, I see people running around in Guy Fawkes masks too, even on the television footage, which is pretty shocking because that's right. And like you say, if you were a tourist and you were going to London, that's where you'd go, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very high-end, very historical area. A lot of tourists go there. But the police have said everything is on CCTV. This is a very, very highly monitored area. They have still photography. They're going to be interviewing people, and they said if you haven't been arrested yet and you committed violence, you will be arrested soon.
Will we see you tonight at the Inforum event at Art Van Furniture from 5:30 till 7:30 there in Lansing?
Absolutely. I plan on attending.
Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying all morning that Inforum has invited me to sign copies of my book, Invite Yourself to the Party, at a cocktail event tonight at the huge Art Van Furniture store on Saginaw Highway in Lansing. You can come and see me, and you can get a signed book, and I'm going to give a little talk. It's a cocktail party from 5:30 to 7:30. Everybody is welcome, but Nikki Hale, the world correspondent, is going to be there. So if you ever wanted to meet Nikki Hale, tonight is the night to do it. 5:30 to 7:30 at Art Van Furniture on Saginaw Highway. There'll be cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. We're going to have a few laughs. It's an after-work party. Bring your friends and show up from 5:30 to 7:30, and you'll meet the world correspondent. I wanted to ask you, too, did you see what George Lopez said about Kirstie Alley?
I did not.
George Lopez has this talk show, and I've never seen it. It's on TBS in the evenings. And apparently Kirstie Alley is on Dancing with the Stars now. Amanda, have you seen that? Did you hear this, what happened? George Lopez was talking about her, and here's what he said about her performance on Dancing with the Stars. He said, quote, "She did a nice job, her little hooves tapping away, and then she went to market and had roast beef, and this is her going all the way home," and they showed her. Yeah.
Yikes.
So Kirstie Alley was pretty upset about that because they showed a squealing pig running down the street, like the old rhyme.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's pretty mean, isn't it? I mean, I know she makes fun of herself, and she had a series called Fat Actress and all that.
It's different when you make fun of yourself, though, than when somebody else makes fun of you. Like,
Well-
you can say things about... It's just like you can say things about your family, but you don't want anybody else saying anything bad about it.
Well, now, here's the funny part, Nikki and Amanda. George Lopez is tweeting now to try to save himself, and he says, "I misjudged the joke. No malice was intended." Now, how can you say that without any malice being intended? I called you a pig, but I
Yeah.
didn't really mean to be mean about it. Anyway,
I mean, I think good for her because Dancing with the Stars, if anything, is going to help her, with her weight loss goals. So
hey, are you going to
I
miss
think good for her
Oprah?
for going out there and doing it.
Speaking of weight loss, are you going to miss Oprah?
Am I going to miss Oprah?
Yeah.
I work during the time that Oprah's on, so
You see that?
I won't because I don't get to watch her.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, she's going to hang it up on May 25th. I don't know if somebody's going to replace her or not, if it's going to be Sarah Palin or who it's going to be. But that's the point of it. They think Oprah's so popular, but the working people can't watch Oprah. We're all busy.
Right, it's the stay-at-home moms that love her, so we'll see. Well, they'll have to put somebody else on the afternoon television time slot, I guess.
We'll see you tonight at Art Van Furniture. It's a big old store, so it's going to be a big old cocktail party from 5:30 to 7:30 on Saginaw Highway in Lansing, and you're welcome to come from anywhere in the state for cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. Nikki Hale, world correspondent on the situation in London. at 33 minutes after the hour. If you were watching the Bay Hill event yesterday, Arnold Palmer Invitational, you had to feel badly for Steve Marino. He was trying to win his first PGA Tour event. He was seconds away, just 2 holes to go, and he made a double bogey on the 17th hole that cost him the lead. Then he came back on 18, that water hazard hole, made that beautiful shot, made birdie, but not good enough. Martin Laird from Scotland wins his second tour event, and he only had to shoot 75 to do it, 3 over par, and Arnold Palmer was standing there congratulating both of them. The Final Four is set: Butler, UConn, VCU, and Kentucky, and so Butler gets VCU. That's their second straight Final Four appearance, and Connecticut will play against Kentucky to see who goes to the finals. That'll be on CBS next weekend with our friend Jim Nance, who will go straight from there to the Masters tournament. Michigan Wolverines hockey team is in the Frozen Four. They beat Colorado College on Saturday. They win the West region, and so they will face either Denver or North Dakota in the national semifinals. That's April 7th in St. Paul, Minnesota. That's something good. Good news for Michigan. Back to the Frozen Four. Tell us something good when we get back. It can be about you. It can be about your kids. Something in the news you think is good. 888-900-9966 is the number to call. 888-900-9966. We want good news from you this morning. Tell us something good. And congratulations to our Northwood University leaders of the day, the high school basketball teams that won this weekend: Kalamazoo Central, Schoolcraft, Wyoming Tri-Unity, and Lansing Sexton. Northwood University celebrating 51 years of producing leaders. It's a pure Michigan Monday here in our American Metal Roof studio, and we are telling you something good this morning. Let's start with, 400 people are going to get jobs. That's something good in Caledonia at Farmers Insurance. It's a brand new location, new facility for the insurer. They had a lot of people show up. 400 people are going to get new jobs. That's something good. You can call us and tell us something good at 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966.
You ain't been loved like you should.
Tell us something good. Bob Seger, who is playing in Grand Rapids and playing in the Detroit area, added yet another show for the Palace of Auburn Hills. The 17th, the 19th, and the 21st of May, Bob Seger will be playing. That's something good. Rock and roll never forgets. We ask you to give us something good at 888-900-9966. The Michigan Wolverines have made it to the Frozen Four in the NCAA tournament. That is something good. The Dow on Friday was up 50 points. The S&P was up 4, and the NASDAQ was up 7. That is something good. 888-900-9966 is where you can call to tell us something good. Maybe your son made the hockey team. Maybe you're going to make that sale today you've been hoping for. Maybe your grandmother turned 85. That's all something good. We love good, positive news here on a Pure Michigan Monday. And the number again is 888-900-9966. Tell us something good. Tell us anything good to get us going here on a Monday.
Tell me that you like it, yeah. I got no time.
41 minutes after the hour, Sarah Palin's support among likely Republican primary voters is fading, according to a Gallup poll. Sarah Palin, now, you want to know who leads? Sarah Palin gets 12% of the report. That is not the lead by any means. Here's, if you're looking at the Republican horse race right now, Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee is on top of the GOP presidential field with 19%. 19%. Mike Huckabee. In second place, Mitt Romney, the former Massachusetts governor. His father was the governor of Michigan. He won the Michigan primary here last time around. He's in second place at 15%. Now, here's the thing. If Huckabee and Palin decline to run, if they decide they're not running, Mitt Romney goes all the way up to 22%. So those are like the top three horses, if you will, right now. Huckabee, Romney, and Palin in third place. Newt Gingrich, the former House Speaker, is at 10%, polling pretty strong for Newt Gingrich. And then the Congressman Ron Paul of Texas, it comes in at 6%. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota is at 5%. She's about to form an exploratory committee. And then you have a string of other potential candidates that are in low single digits. That includes Indiana Governor Mitch Daniels, former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, former U.S. Ambassador to China John Huntsman, former Senator Rick Santorum of Pennsylvania, and the former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson. Also in that bunch is the Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour, who was the Republican National Committee chair. He's featured in my book, Invite Yourself to the Party, because we spent a weekend together once, Haley Barbour and myself and his wife Marcia, down there in Mississippi. And it's funny, I was with Governor Granholm on Friday night. I'm a name dropper, what can I tell you? And Governor Granholm asked me, who do you think could make a run for the Republicans? And I said, Haley Barbour. And she said, I agree, because she's been on a couple of trips with him too. She went to Iraq with Haley Barbour, and she says that he's so charming that he is the surprise candidate that could really make a good run against President Barack Obama. That's the words of a Democrat, Haley Barbour. So Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour. And then Donald Trump gets 1% in the poll. And his name wasn't even included in the poll. So anybody who picked Donald Trump wrote his name in. There's some strong support for Donald Trump. The guy from The Apprentice. Yeah, the same one. The one, the millionaire from New York with the casinos and the Apprentice and all that business. Donald Trump still threatening to run. He says he's going to decide by June. So who do you like amongst the Republicans? If the primary were today, 888-900-9966. For which of these candidates, if any of them, would you vote? 888-900-9966 is the number to call. Would you vote for Mike Huckabee? Sarah Palin, the former Alaska governor? Mitt Romney, the former Massachusetts governor, would he get your vote? Would Newt Gingrich, the former House Speaker, get your vote? What about Ron Paul? Kind of a curious candidate. What about Michelle Bachmann? She gets a lot of media attention. How about Mitch Daniels or Tim Pawlenty or Haley Barbour? Rick Santorum? Donald Trump? 888-900-9966 is the number to call. So we are looking for you to tell us something good at 888-900-9966, or let us know which Republican you would back, because it's time for the horse race again. 888-900-9966 is the number to call. We look forward to hearing from you. The lines are open in 4 minutes. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Dial now. So who do you like? Believe it or not, the horse race is on already, of course, for who will run as a Republican against the sitting president, Barack Obama. 10 minutes now before the hour. We invite your calls at 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966. And Penny in Lansing is ringing in. Good morning to you, Penny.
Good morning.
What do you think? Do you think, first of all, do you think anybody could beat President Obama in the re-elect?
Oh, yeah,
You do?
definitely. Yeah.
Well, who do you like then? Who do you think?
Well, I would vote for Sarah Palin,
You would?
hands down.
Why?
Yeah. I just read her book this week,
Mhm.
and I guess I had to find out more about her, so I would definitely say Sarah.
And do you think she can win?
Yes,
You do.
I do.
I'm curious. There are some people who say she's a bit divisive, and that what I mean by that is you either like her or you don't like her at all. You took the time to go in and read her book and learn more about her, and you've decided that you would give her your support. But there are people who would say, "Gosh, she didn't even finish one term as the governor of Alaska. What's she going to do when she becomes president?" How do you?
Well,
what
if
happened?
you read her book,
Mhm.
I think she has a lot of potential, and I think the media was a big problem for her. But, yeah, definitely I vote for her, for all the people who are running right now, or
Yeah.
who would possibly run here in the near future.
Well, right now, Sarah Palin has 12% of the support from Republicans or Republican-leaning independents, and she's behind Mike Huckabee and Mitt Romney. But we don't know whether she's going to run or not yet, but I guess we'll stay tuned on that one, huh?
Right.
Okay,
But
Penny.
that's just a poll, so.
That's true. Penny took the time, thank you very much, to go ahead and read Sarah Palin's book and decide whether or not she would support her. Sarah Palin is 12%. That's third place if you look at this Gallup poll right now. It surprises me somewhat that Mike Huckabee is in first place, although he gets a lot of media exposure too because he's got a television show and he's got a syndicated radio hit that he does, and he's very likable, no question about that. Mitt Romney in second place at 15%. The big knock, it seems, on Mitt Romney is that he was the author of the health care reform in Massachusetts that is somewhat similar to the national health care reform that has a lot of people riled up. He'll have to explain that to the core Republicans, the conservatives, who really don't like the health care reform. And then comes Newt Gingrich, who I sort of thought was passé, but I guess not, at 10%. He's in fourth place and hasn't even decided whether he's running or not. The insiders say that Newt Gingrich is just flirting with the idea of running to keep his name out there and sell books. That's what the insiders say about Newt Gingrich, that he's not really intending to run at all. Ron Paul polls awfully well at 6%. And then you get a figure like Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota, the congresswoman. Can you imagine what a debate between Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin would look like? Boy, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? When will the Republicans start eating their own? That's the question, too. 888-900-9966, 888-900-9966 on this pure Michigan Monday. Tonight we'll be at the Inforum event from 5:30 to 7:30. It's basically a cocktail party at Art Van Furniture on Saginaw Highway. Everyone is welcome, men and women. There'll be cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, and we'd love to see you there. I'll be signing copies of my book, Invite Yourself to the Party, and giving a little speech, too. Inforum is a group put together of very powerful, thoughtful, community-involved women. But the party is for men and women, so we look forward to seeing you there. Final Four is set. It's Butler, UConn, VCU, and Kentucky. So the sort of middle little schools, Butler and Virginia Commonwealth, are going to play off against each other. Second straight Final Four appearance for Butler. And then you get the other two. Yeah, there's the music that you'll hear with CBS. UConn and Kentucky will play. And then we'll have a championship on Monday night with our friend Jim Nance, who will go from there straight to the Masters tournament. This weekend, I'll be at the Golf Writers Association of America annual tournament at Pine Needles at Pinehurst with Ben Wright, the CBS golf analyst, and Vartan Capellian, who you hear very frequently on this program. He is the president of the Golf Writers Association of America. And it's the first time I've ever been to this event. It's about 60 golf writers from around the country who have a golf tournament, and they do it near the Masters because a lot of the guys are making their way to Augusta National for the coverage, and so we all get together, and there's a daily flight and there's an overall winner. I don't stand much chance because I'm coming out of the cold of Michigan without much of a swing, but we'll have a lot of fun, and we'll connect with Ben Wright, the former CBS golf analyst, won the Emmy Award with Ken Venturi and Pat Summerall and Jim Nance and all those guys, Vern Lundquist and Peter Costas and David Faraday, and, of course, Gary McCord, too. So we'll have some tales to tell you from the Golf Writers Association of America tournament at Pinehurst this weekend before they all go over to Augusta National for the Masters. Tigers are going to start this week, too, at New York on Thursday. It's a great time for spring sports, no question about it. Television viewers, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate seeing you. Tomorrow morning we'll be at the Accident Fund building, right down the street from our American Metal Roof studio. That big old Ottawa Street power station, looks like a factory, is now the worldwide headquarters of Accident Fund, which could have moved anywhere. They decided not only to stay in Michigan, but to stay in the state capital downtown, so they turned a factory into an office building. You'll get a first look at it tomorrow and across the state on radio, too. You can find us at Michigan Talk Network, where we're on YouTube as well, MichiganTalkNetwork.com. Television viewers, again, thanks. Radio listeners, stay where you are. Mayor Bernero, the Democratic candidate for governor, will be with us coming up shortly. It's Michael Patrick Shields.
Come and play. Bye now.